This video will show you 3 questions that, if you ask, will transform negative experiences into positive ones so that you're able to attract more positivity into your life. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 questions that I've applied in my own life, and really an understanding that can be an epiphany for many people if you choose to apply it. And this has to do with really attracting what you want, realizing that we always get a reflection of what we define to be true and what we are relating to. Now, when it comes to attracting positive things, realize that everything in our life is fundamentally neutral, that we tag the meaning as to whether things will be positive and as to whether things will be negative. And that based upon that meaning, that will determine what effect we get into our life. So if something happens to you, maybe your intention is to attract a specific person or to attract more money into your life. And if a roadblock comes into your life, if something, happens, if you determine and you define that as a negative thing and as a block or as an obstacle, if that's a part of the definition, then that will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the idea behind this, if we simply question those thoughts, if we simply allow ourselves to see it as something that could be positive, then we will get a positive effect out of it. Now I want to share with you one time that this happened, and this happened actually maybe a year or 2 ago when I used to have my old job where before I went full-time on YouTube, where I was a sales commission job. And it was kind of a funny situation to me. There was this guy that I worked with who didn't really like to help customers. He just had Instagram following. I worked at Barney's New York in women's shoes, just to give you the context. And it was a sales commission job, and we got paid a percentage of whatever we sold. There wasn't really an hourly. So we just had to help customers all day. And I had this guy that I worked with who's a friend of mine, and he pretty much just makes his money on Instagram. He has an Instagram account, and people, will message him, and he sells through that. He doesn't like to help customers. Well, one time I remember me and him were standing on the floor talking, and this customer came up and was talking to him. And this customer had appeared to have this bad attitude. She was from New York. She was with her mom, who was 90-something years old. And she kind of came up with this attitude and just went up to him and was like, what shoes do you have in a narrow? And first off, it's a designer shoe. All we had was, high-end shoes that were $800 and up. None of them were comfortable. None of them came in narrows. That's something that maybe you could find at a different store. But the idea is that that's almost impossible to find. And this lady came up to him and had this bad attitude and was very demanding. And he kind of looked at me and he passed the customer on to me. And at first I wasn't going to take the customer, because if somebody comes up to you, we don't have to, take the customer, especially just because the person doesn't want to help them because that person has a bad attitude. But what I did is I simply decided that, you know what, I'm going to trust the process and treat it as if this could be a positive thing. So what I did was, even though that could have been kind of a snarky move on his part for him to send that customer to me because he just simply didn't want to deal with her bad attitude, I simply decided it was going to be a positive thing. And I remember, I was like, you know what, I'm going to take the customer. It was kind of slow. So I took the customer and I was simply really nice to them. I joked around. I saw she had a sarcastic attitude. The person who was there with her mom, she was a lawyer, so she kind of had that attitude, I think, naturally. But I actually work really well with people with a New York type attitude, because I also have a very blunt, sarcastic kind of perspective, so I was able to really bounce off of that. Long story short, I helped her for about half an hour. She and her mom ended up buying 7 or 8 pairs of shoes. It was a $5,000-$6,000 sale, which means that I made $400 or $500 on that sale. And it was a very good sale. And I remember I was ringing her up, and the coworker was like, whoa, I had no idea she was going to buy that much. And I believe that a lot of that had to do with my attitude about it. I simply decided I was going to add value, I was going to have fun with the process, I was going to have it be a positive thing. I kept thinking to myself, how can this be positive? And because of that, that became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now this has happened many other times. That's just the thought that really comes to mind with it. And what I want to encourage you to do is to understand that if you simply choose that something will be positive, you can get a positive result out of it. Now this is also something that we can apply when it comes to the questions we ask ourselves, which is the main part of this video. So the questions we ask ourselves, what we ask, we will always look for the answers to. So if we ask, why is this obstacle in my life, we'll get a different answer. If we ask, how can this serve me, that will also get a different answer. And that's the first question I always ask. is how can this serve me? What can I benefit out of this situation? So asking that question, you will start to look for the positives rather than the negatives. Now think about it. Even if it's a negative situation that happens, simply asking that question will allow you, instead of to start to look at the negative things, to start to look at the positive things. Think of positive in the sense of positive is more integrative. Negative is more separation, is more segregative. When you look at it instead of good or bad and more of integrative and separating, what you do is you start to see that if you are associating positivity with it, it's more of a part of the process. I trusted the course of my day and the course of that customer. That's why I think I got such a beneficial part out of it. In the same way, the first question is ask yourself, how can this serve me? What good can come from this? And as you start to focus on those things, you'll find that you immediately increase your state of being, which is also an important part of the process. If you feel better about the process, you will get a better result. You will perceive of opportunities that you wouldn't perceive of if you're focused on negativity. So simply realize your state of being is the most important thing when it comes to the process. And if you decide to focus on a positive state of being, you will start to perceive of better opportunities. Now, the second question that you can ask yourself is, what is the lesson that I can learn from this? Now, say a negative thing happens, maybe someone backstabs you, maybe you do something that you regret. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What is the lesson inside of this? And you'll find that there's always something to learn. Even when it comes to that situation that turned out very well, I can ask myself, what is the lesson from this? The lesson is, if I trust the process, if I have a positive attitude, that good things can happen. So it's a matter of perspective, and learning that allows us to put it in our memory bank in a way that's something that we'll know what to do the next time it happens. It sets ourselves a trigger, a way that we absorb that information so that we can use it in a much more powerful way in the future. You can apply this towards anything. If someone backstabs you, what is the lesson in this? The lesson is, I'm going to be more discerning, and I'm going to really trust my gut, because I knew that this might happen with this person. So I'm going to trust my gut and know that that's something powerful to do. Whatever it is, understand there's a lesson in everything you do. And if you decide you're going to abstract some type of value out of that lesson, you will then get that result. Now the third question that is also very powerful is, how can I get positivity from this? So it's kind of similar to the first two, but how can I get positivity from this? How can I really understand that my own state of being is the most important thing, and I can feel and give myself permission right now to feel positive. Regardless of what the external situations are, this one is a constant reminder that the most important ability we have and the most important thing that we can do is decide and give ourselves permission to feel positive right now in the present moment. Now, this means that instead of being reliant on the external situations, we simply go within and we realize that the external is a reflection of the internal anyways. And if we decide that we are not dependent on those external situations, we are bringing the power within, and we are allowing ourselves to really generate the emotion from within, to really generate that positivity regardless of what's happening. This will also prove to us that we can be in high pressure situations and we can come out on top because we know that our own state of being is the most important thing, that we can give ourselves permission to enjoy the moment, and that we can use it as a lesson for us to really be more present to the moment. So that's the other side of it. How present to the moment are you? And are you allowing the present moment to be, or are you trying to always change it or to get from here to somewhere else? You can be positive where you are right now, and remember, positive doesn't have to be good or bad. Positive means integrative. It means very a part of the process, very connected. And as you do that, you'll find that everything begins to change. Remember, the 3 questions you can ask yourself is the first one, how can this serve me? What is the benefit that I can get out of it? The second one, what is the lesson that's inside of this? What can I learn from this? And what can I really get better at in the future of? Really trusting myself more and whatever it might be. And then thirdly, what is the positive I can get out of this? How can I have the own control of deciding my state of being and knowing that as I choose my state of being and I choose to feel integrative and happy, I will get a new reflection in my life. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification key next to the subscribe button so that you're able to see the daily videos that I do. Also, I put the free PDF on my top 3 advanced law of attraction techniques. Feel free to check that out. That's in the description box below. And as always, I will see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, namaste.